Welcome to the Startup of the Year podcast, where each episode we showcase exciting new companies from around the world. This podcast is produced by Established, creators of the Startup of the Year program. Established is focused on helping organizations with their innovation, startup, and communication strategies.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Startup of the Year podcast. I'm Frank Gruber, the co-founder and co-CEO of Established, co-founder of Established Ventures, and the team behind the Startup of the Year community and this very podcast. Thanks for being here today. On this episode, we're going to have a conversation with Anna Mason from Rise of the Rest Fund and Revolution about investing between the coasts and her investment thesis. The conversation took place actually in the past, but you're hearing it now for the first time on the podcast. Happened at our 9th annual Start the Year Summit presented by ReliaQuest. It was hosted by Embarc Collective and powered by Established. I've known Anna Mason for many years. We've ridden this Rise of the Rest bus together all over the country and had a lot of fun doing so and met a lot of great people and startups along the way. And it's so great to actually see her again back in Tampa a few months ago and get to talk to her and obviously have this conversation. So really excited to share this with you all. And as I mentioned during the last few podcast episodes, we're sharing most of our interviews from that we gathered during that summit over the next few months. So please take a look at the future episodes, and hopefully they'll provide you with some tips and strategies, and hopefully you learn something along the way. That's what we're all about, is continue to help you with your journey. All right, let's jump into that conversation with Anna Mason. So anyway, all right, thanks, Anna. It's been a while since I've seen you in person. It's been a minute. So thanks for being here today, and I appreciate it. We've been on bus tours together across the country, but you've done a lot of tours. I think you've done more than I have at this point. How many of you, what have you done with the Rise of the Rest? And you do the whole tour, and you've been touring around the country finding companies. Give us like an update on everything that you've been up to with that.
Yeah, and thank you for hosting this amazing event. It's been incredibly special to reconnect with so many great friends from all across the country. So huge round of applause for Embarc and Established. It's really been amazing.
Is this the first event you've been at in person, or has it been?
It now is like the second. But the first one was in New York. Very different vibe.
I'm sure. Yeah.
What's going on? What's going on here?
Yep.
So Rise of the Rest started as a bus tour platform back in 2014 to celebrate and spotlight regional entrepreneurship in cities all across the country. We've done 9 tours, been to 45 cities, including Tampa, back on our 8th tour in 2019. Yep. So it's incredible to be back and see all of the extraordinary momentum here and in South Florida more broadly. But Rise of the Rest is also now a venture fund. We've got $300 million under management. We've got about 175 companies that we're invested in. And we've just been incredibly busy investing. We actually, 2021 was our most active year since we launched the fund 4 years ago. We made 48 investments in 23 different states. Wow. It was super exciting, including 3 new investments in Tampa. So been super active. So
during the pandemic times, which I think we're still in, I don't know, can't even tell where they blur together. But either way, how has that been? Has that increased the amount of stuff you've been doing? I know the tour is a big part of what you're doing, but have you been investing more because of the, ability to be able to jump on more calls on Zoom and whatnot, or what's that been like?
Yeah, we've been incredibly active, and I think this space in general has been really active, which is exciting to see. At the end of last year, so while we had to temporarily put our formal bus tour on the sidelines, we've been doing a ton virtually, as I know others have in the space as well. And at the end of last year, late December, we came out with a report which we published together with PitchBook.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Yep.
I'll jump.
Okay, jump right in. I wanted to hear about the report.
But this answers your question, right?
Yeah,
because we're thrilled that we've been so active, but we're a relatively small fund in, I think, what's in a very exciting way, really an emerging space. Our thesis is to see opportunity first through the lens of geography. So place matters. We don't invest in Silicon Valley. We don't invest in New York City. We love and have deep respect for both those places, but the vast majority of venture capital over the last 10 years has gone to those 3 places. And we think extraordinary entrepreneurs can have and will continue to build exceptional, transformative, generation-defining companies anywhere in the country. And oftentimes, early-stage venture capital can be the friction point that either you have to get over that hurdle in order to just, start to really scale the mountaintop. So that's our thesis at its core.
Right.
And I think what's been most exciting to me and to us as a fund over this past year is we've actually really started to see the acceleration of, I think, what's starting as a trend and hopefully is turning into more of a movement with staying power, which is that early stage investment is really increasing outside of Silicon Valley. So what our report detailed is that actually for the first time in 10 years, the percentage of early and seed stage funding going to Bay Area startups fell below 30% for the first time in 10 years.
Yeah.
And part of that is because actually a lot of investors in the Bay Area and in New York are increasingly investing all across the country. And there's also been a tremendous uptick in new venture firm creation. About 1,500 new firms have come into the market over the last 10 years. So just a tremendous amount of capital flowing to more people in more places, and nothing gets us more excited than that.
That's great. That's fantastic. And that's out in Pittsburgh. So if anyone wants to check it out, they can go find it, that report.
It's called Beyond Silicon Valley.
Makes sense. Beyond Silicon Valley. So it's funny, we had Beyond Happiness here yesterday. So we're just going this is all about going beyond.
The theme. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So what I was going to ask you though is how is that? So you've seen acceleration in geographic locations and investment. I think, you've also seen a little bit of an acceleration in certain trends, right? Like with work and everything. How are you guys seeing that? Because certain things like education and all the areas that you were investing in because it's going to eventually be online has been online. So we've gotten kind of jump started because of pandemic. And so I want to see what you guys are thinking and what you've been seeing out there as you look at a number of different companies.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. And the joke is, the future of work is now just work. The future of education is now just education.
Right.
Future's very much so here.
We live in the future.
In an accelerated way.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is exciting, scary, all of those things. For us, I think some key areas of focus and opportunity, what we spend a lot of time thinking about and talking about and investing against from a thesis standpoint, are the broader themes of infrastructure, access, and resilience. So for example, we've, on the access point, we've been doing a lot more investing in verticalized fintech, where it's all about increased access and visibility and actual transaction capabilities to alternative asset classes, or expanding the pool of people who have access to investment education. So those are some areas that are interesting to us. On the infrastructure side of things, for me, that's more a commentary on, I think, the relative state of where the technology industry is in general right now. I just think there's a level of maturation in the way tech has sort of come online that now it's almost about like the plumbing and the infrastructure. And so we're seeing a lot of really interesting opportunities on that front. I think that plays out, for example, in supply chain. So I think there's sort of a Gen 2, Gen 3 opportunity that we're seeing come online with more specialized or verticalized supply chain plays. Obviously, that's been an incredibly hot topic with supply chain, used to just be like supply chain nerds in corners would talk about what was happening behind the scenes, and now
it's more nerds,
very much so. Like we're all supply chain nerds wondering where our goods and services are.
Yeah.
So in general, if I had to pick 3 topics that I think will move the needle, not just for investment opportunity, but also for entrepreneurs, for people looking to get into the space as early employees in startups. 3 key areas that I'm focused on as we're kicking off this crazy new year. One is money. I think watching where the flows of money going. Obviously, I talked about the fact that more money is flowing to more places. I think more money will continue to flow into venture as an asset class, which is incredibly exciting when you think about just the opportunity.
Don't follow Biggie because more money, more problems. I don't know if that's true.
I'm going to do the M's, not the B's. I'm going to do the M's.
All right.
The second is movement. I refer to it as like the unbundling of place. So for a long time, we all existed in this sort of value proposition that where you work and where you live had to be the same. Obviously, we all know that's evolving in some really rapid ways. So I hope, and I think this event is just such an important example of it, being together in person with people matters, and there's a special electricity that I think you get from those in-person reactions. So I don't think we're going to have zero sum, all remote, all in person. There's going to be a brave new world charted on this course, and thinking about the flows and the movement around talent and where people go is a trend we're following really closely. And then finally is meaning. And this is where I think the startup community as a whole has the most opportunity. Yeah. If there's one seismic shift that I think has unfolded, perhaps for each of us individually and for communities and perhaps even the world at large, it's taking a step back and thinking about what matters. I read this really interesting piece that LinkedIn had put out recently, which said, work-life balance is actually now shifting in subtle but critical ways to be life-work balance, and figuring out how you fit work into your life instead of how you fit your life into work is actually going to be the big coin flip moving forward for the duration post-pandemic. And when you think about where you find meaning, I think the startup community, that opportunity inures to the benefit of the entire startup community, because entrepreneurship to me is fundamentally about optimism, realistic optimism. You're crazy enough to think that you can find the better way, but you're also realistic enough to help make it happen. And that's where I just think there's really exciting opportunity and inspiration for the year ahead.
I love that. And I think about even what Paul just mentioned in reference to your garden, right? Your life, figuring out your life first, and then ultimately figuring out what you actually want to do in that. So I love that. So I wanted to ask you a few topics I thought of while you were talking, and didn't want to interrupt you. But basically, you talked about some trends there.
You wanted to interrupt me a little bit.
I did, but I bit my tongue. Yeah, I did. I held myself back. But basically, you're talking about some trends there, and I wanted to just get your take, right? There's a lot of buzz and talk about, and even, your counterpart there, Steve Case, wrote a book all about the waves, right? The third wave, and first, he was part of the first and second and all that, and you've got the third, and now we're seeing Web 3.0. How does that fall into the waves, and what do you think about it? And then also, you're talking about in-person things. I want to get your take on the metaverse as well. So those two kind of areas of, have you been seeing a lot of deals in those areas? Do you care about those spaces? Are you thinking about them? Or
We're seeing a ton in that space. It's I think we're in a stage right now where we're digging in, we're learning a lot, we're having a lot of conversations. I think there are a handful of companies in our portfolio who have long been building in the metaverse. Maybe they just didn't know it yet. We didn't know it yet. All of a sudden, it's all they can talk about.
Right.
For me, and I think this applies not just to Web3 and the metaverse, but for any industry in general. Every 12 to 18 months or so, the cycle flips and everybody talks about the same exact buzzword. I think it's the authenticity of if, where, and how it actually fits into your model, or if you're square peg round hole.
That makes sense. All right, great. So you're here in Tampa. I know you had some meetings this week, and we've co-invested in some companies. You probably did a bigger check size, but we were able to invest in some of the Startup of the Year companies. One is Griffin. So locally, are there others that you're excited about here in Tampa?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, we're invested in 4 companies in Tampa. Not all of them have been announced yet, so I'm not going to blow anybody up.
We can definitely break that news. We can break that news today.
I think there's a broader a broader PR plan. I don't want to step on there.
All right, they won't tell anyone.
But let me answer your question differently.
Yeah.
Rise of the Rest typically writes $500,000 checks into seed stage companies that range from $250,000. And our check size can range from $250,000 to $1 million. We mostly do seed. We do a very little bit of pre-seed, a very little bit of A. I am loud and proud in all communities, not just when I'm in Tampa, about how special and underrated I think this community is. There's obviously been a tremendous amount of hype, and I actually think well-deserved in other parts of South Florida, but I think there's a really special and intentional community being built here. I love this market. I love investing in startups in this market. I've learned better than to continue to hand out my email from stage, but I will answer that question by saying, in part, I'm here looking for my 5th investment in Tampa. So we'll figure out how to get in touch.
And we have others as well, not just Tampa. So there's quite a few other states involved.
Yes. I should say Rise the Rest is invested in 39 states across the country. So
I don't think I've ever met.
We're trying to get to 50 of 50.
That's amazing. I don't think I've ever met anybody that's invested in that many states.
Part of it, I think, unfolded through the work that we did on the tours.
Yeah.
So while the tours weren't just about early stage startups in isolation. It was really about understanding and experiencing the broader community of innovation and entrepreneurship and that spirit of possibility that's very much so alive and well in cities all across the country. And so it's really since 2014, it's been a really special opportunity for us to get to know so many cities, and that's led naturally just to great investment opportunities.
That makes sense. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's been a while since we've been on a bus, but gosh, in the moment it's a grind, right? But in hindsight, you're like, wow, that was amazing, right? So, and I think for those that don't realize it, it's literally like a 5-day tour where you're in a new city every day, and you start at 7 a.m. and you're meeting like everyone in that community, pretty much, including like the governors and the mayors and the, everybody. So, is there any memories that you have from just doing those tours that you just would love to share? Like one moment where you're like, oh my gosh, that was like the most interesting thing. I mean, there's probably been a ton. But...
Oh, I don't know. Ask me a different question, Ted.
Okay. Is there anything you're looking forward to here in the 2022? It's 2020 part 2. Hopefully it's not like 2020.
I am, so we probably, like so many of you, we had the opportunity to build and grow our team over the last 2 years during the pandemic. And we have put a lot of emphasis on just thinking about how we operate, how we vibe as a team. And one of the things we've started to do is come together with intention. So people are, remote, whether they're local in DC or in some of our other locations across the country. And we've really started to come together with intention on a quarterly basis and just do great, fun things. And we just laid the plans to take our team to Austin, actually to one of our portfolio companies called Collective Retreats, which does these really neat hospitality experiences like in the wild.
Oh, cool.
So we're going to be headed there
Nice.
in a couple months, and I'm looking forward to that.
That's great. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate it. You're going to be a finals judge here shortly. We've got some great companies, as you saw, the little videos there. I don't know if you had a chance to meet any of those yet.
Thanks, Frank.
But you're going to learn more about them here shortly. So let's give a warm round of applause here for Anna Mason. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. Really appreciate what you're doing as a longtime supporter of the community and everything you guys are doing over at Revolution and Rise of the Rest. Big fans and supporters over here as well. I wanted to also mention that the live stream from the event that we recorded that at, which was our 9th annual Start the Year Summit. If you did not come to the event in Tampa, you can actually find it over on our YouTube channel. Just go to soty.link/ESTYouTube. Again, it's soty.link/ESTYouTube. And if you're not a subscriber, subscribe. We drop a number of different things throughout the months and a lot of interviews and different events that we produce. So you definitely want to check that out as well. All right. And I wanted to mention one more time a company we've been working with for a little bit and then we're actually invested in called Embarc because it's really helpful to startups. It's one of the most important things that it's an often confused thing is your financial model for forecasting and cash projections and runway. So Embarc is actually creating a software that allows startups to create these plans in an easy way or easier way. And they're actually offering our community of members a chance to sign up for free. So free trial on us. If you go to est.us/Finmark, again, it's est.us/Finmark. And again, Finmark is one of our alumni, came through our Start of the Year program a couple years ago and is doing great things. So check it out, est.us/Finmark, and we'll all drink our own champagne. All right, and we'll enjoy it too. So go check that out. Finmark's definitely something that can help you. All right. And for all those listeners out there, I hope you're enjoying our conversation today. And if you think of anything you want to share, please do share it with us. We appreciate the feedback. Drop it in the reviews section, and we'll check it out. Or just share this podcast with somebody if you think it's helpful, because sharing is caring for sure. Well, we're almost at time here with this episode. Before we do, though, I wanted to mention thanks to everyone that reached out and connected over at South by Southwest down in Austin, Texas. I just got back from South by, so I've got a little bit of South by haze as far as there's a lot going on, a lot of walking. I think I walked like 12 miles a day, but a lot of great energy down in Austin again, and it was great to see everybody. So I appreciate everyone that reached out via email, as well as some folks reached out via DM and whatnot. So it was great to connect with folks in person again, and looking forward to doing it in the future again soon. So if you have a startup idea and you want to get it going, today is the best day to start up, not tomorrow, not the next day. Get it going, and in doing so, I encourage you to join our community for access to support, expert advice, and resources that you need to elevate your startup to the next level. Just simply go to soty.link/apply and join our community, or just go to startupofyear.com. You should be able to find our application, learn more about what we're up to, and join the community. It's free. We just want to help. So till next time, I'm Frank Gruber, and I'll see you out there.
Thanks for listening to the Startup of the Year podcast. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll be back with another episode soon.